Okay, so I've talked about how key it is to acquire assets that can be qualified for the 3-unit conversion. So I'm gonna go into a bit more details on what you should be looking for. So building code, fire code, and a bunch of other codes in the provincial laws as well as municipal bylaws have strict guidelines as to what can be allowed and what cannot be allowed. So typically, you would rely on a professional like us or a planner to make assessment before you make any purchase. What's really interesting is when you get into the details of the bylaw at a municipal level, you will find that sometimes they're in conflict with provincial codes. What do? Well, you're going to have in-depth knowledge about what can be allowed, what cannot be allowed, what variances are allowed, and which are open for interpretation. Also, you're going to figure out which pockets in a municipality can allow what and what not. So these underwritings and due diligence require very specific knowledge. Okay, so here's a very, very high-level overview of the process that you have to go through in order to create a legal garden suite. So you have to make sure you comply with all the bylaws and building code. This should have already been done before you actually put the offer, okay? Now, before closing, you should line up the architects and produce the permit set already. Before you take possession, you could ask the owner to submit this in order to save time, but most likely you will have to wait until the day that you take possession. Then you submit the permit application on the same day or shortly after. All right? Your permit materials should include floor plans, elevation sections, details, construction specs, etc., etc. Everything needs to be detailed here. Now, for those of you who know real estate market a bit, you probably know that recently, due to the pandemics, material costs and material availability are impacted big time. So if you're ever in that situation, you might need to be prepared for multiple revisions because of the market change on the materials. Okay? Then you submit the permit application, then you begin your construction, then you pass inspection, and you get final approval. And then you have a legal garden suite.